Hi everybody, Jordan Blotcher here, aka the Sports Card Lawyer, back again with another video of tips. Now this video is going to be a little bit different than the other tips and videos that I've posted so far. Um, just a little bit of information about me. I started collecting cards only about a year ago, and I saw an opportunity to learn a new style of investment. I had always really liked football, but I didn't know anything about sports cards. I had collected when I was, 7 or 8 years old, and then I stopped, and so I had a renewed interest in this, and so I wanted to get started, and I really jumped headfirst into the community and grew my collection over the course of the last year. But when I look back at the beginning of August last year and when I was just getting started, I realized that I made a lot of mistakes. I did not know what I was doing. I jumped in before I had properly studied, and I made a lot of mistakes. And some of those mistakes were expensive and cost me a considerable amount of money because I hadn't done the requisite research yet in order to actually be well informed and make good decisions in this community. And so I wanted to make this video to share 5 tips for those of you who are just looking to get started, you're just looking to improve your understanding of the community a little bit before you dive right in. And so there's going to be a mixture of analytics and just general tips going on in this video. So I've got my top 5 picks here for tips for you guys. I'm certainly going to have a follow-up video with more tips. There's more than I could put in one video. I don't want to make any one video too long. I don't want to put you guys to sleep. So, we're going to do 5 tips in this video, and I've got a list of them right here. So we're going to jump right in. So the first tip that I have here is don't invest in college uniform cards. Last year when I started, I didn't realize that college uniform cards were so much less desirable than cards where players are in their NFL jersey. Because the first product that's going to come out over the course of the summer for the 2022 class this year for NFL is going to be product where they are in their college uniforms. Because that's what exists so far. There aren't a lot of images that Panini has of the players in their regular real Patriots jerseys or their Jets jerseys or anything like that. And so product is going to come out of players in their college uniforms, and that product is going to be relatively expensive. You're going to see autographed Kenny Pickett cards selling for a few $100s where they're in their college uniform. And the best piece of advice that I can give you guys, if you're trying to invest and you're trying to learn and you're in it for the long haul and you want to make money with some long-term holds, do not invest in college uniform cards because they just don't carry the same long-term value that the later product will have where they're in their actual NFL jerseys. So what will happen is those college jersey cards will be valuable for a while, and then as more and more product gets released in the next year for these new rookies, you're going to see the value of those college uniform cards go down. And so if you just want to buy them for the short term as a flip, for example, if you had bought Mac Jones last year with the idea that, you thought he was going to beat Cam Newton out for the starting job, and then your goal was you were going to sell as soon as Mac Jones was named the starter, good for you. That's just a smart short-term play. That's what I was thinking at this time last year. However, if you're planning on buying, oh, I really love Kenny Pickett, and Kenny Pickett is a long-term hold for me, his college uniform cards are not going to be the place where you're going to make the most money. So don't invest in college uniform cards. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2. Don't buy unproven players who are overperforming in the short term. So for this one, I'm just going to pull up a graph because for those of us who were paying attention last year, we all remember Mike White mania. Zach Wilson got hurt. Mike White came in, and he had a really amazing game, and his cards suddenly started trading way above where they had ever been in the past. Here we go. We had Mike White trading this is his Prism base raw trading at about $2, and then he had his great game and it went up 700% to $16. And that wasn't even the peak. At one point in time, this card traded at $19, which was almost a 1,000% increase. But Mike White was a backup for a reason. There was no reason to believe that he was actually going to be replacing Zach Wilson as the starter for the Jets. The Jets drafted him, very high in the first round, and so he's going to be the guy. And so if you bought Mike White, an unproven player who had an incredible game, and you paid $19 here, well, just 1 week later, you would have lost 75% of your investment for every single card that you bought at that price. So be really careful. Make sure that you're not buying a player who's unproven because they had an amazing week. Do everything you can to not speculate. Buy proven players who are having a bad couple of weeks, or buy proven players who are having a great couple of weeks, and you think they're going to continue to have a great couple of weeks based off of their schedule and playing weaker teams. But don't buy an unproven player who's having a great game, because it puts you at a very, very high likelihood of losing your shirt. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3. Don't buy players that are trading above their trend lines. We've talked about this in a number of other videos, and so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. However, when a player is trading above its trend line, that is an indicator to you that that might not be the best use of your money, especially if you're looking for a long-term hold. Because over the course of a season, sometimes a player is going to trade above their trend line, sometimes they're going to trade below their trend line. So because of that, you want to buy when they're trading below their trend line, because that way, when they rise back to their trend line, you'll have a selling opportunity or a trading opportunity. But you're much less likely to get a really great selling or trading opportunity when you're buying the player while they're trading above their trend line. Because what we'll see over the course of the season is a couple players are going to be really hot when they come out of the gate, right? And they're going to have some 300, 400-yard games, and everybody's going to get really, really excited. They're early candidates for MVP, and everyone's going to buy that player, and it's going to drive the price of their cards way up, and the hype gets built into the price. And then, when they underperform later in the season, or they don't realize those MVP expectations, or their team gets eliminated in the playoffs, because remember, there's only one Super Bowl winner every year. There's going to be a lot of quarterbacks who look like they could win the Super Bowl, but there's only going to be one Super Bowl winning quarterback every year. And so if you're the person who's buying on that hype, you are much more likely to lose your shirt than if you are the person who is buying when other people are panicking. So basically, you need to be able to read the market, you need to be able to have a certain degree of feel, and something that you can use to navigate that situation is where the cards are trading relative to their trend line. So generally speaking, buy below the trend line, sell at or above the trend line. So that's tip number 3. Tip number 4, don't allow yourself to be misled by a single anomaly sale. So this is an important point because sometimes comps are all over the place. And so I want to show you a popular Tom Brady card. We're going to take a look at the Bowman base. We're going to look at it in PSA 9. So here we go. We're looking at a year of the graph, and what we're really interested in is a comp like this one right here, November 20th. The card traded at $5,000. The last sale of the card was $3,500. This was a really large jump in the value of the card. There were not a lot of comps in the nearby vicinity. We had, some that were $800 to $1,000 less. This was a pretty high one at $4,700. But that $5,000 was the most that card had sold for in a long time. And so when you see an anomaly sale like that, you should be careful and not immediately say, oh my god, I gotta get in, I gotta buy that card now, the price of the card is going up, because as we can see, the next sale on that card was $3,300, and so the person who paid $5,000 immediately realized a negative 33% return because they had purchased at such an anomaly high price. So what you should really be looking for when you're looking at a graph like this, but when you're trying to figure out the value of the card, you want to have 3 to 5 sales that you can rely on. Like, think about this area of the graph right here. This was a pretty good, like, 5 sale period over the course of a few weeks that would allow you to really gauge, okay, this is probably the value of this card. And so if I think this card is a good buying opportunity at that price, that's when I'm going to make a move. And if you did hold for a little bit of time at this point, this was, we'll say, 2,400, you'll see that there was a sale here at $3,000. And so there was an opportunity for you to realize around a 25% gain if you were to try to move the card at that point in time. So just be really careful and don't allow yourself to be lulled into complacency by a single high sale. Always look for multiple sales in order to gauge, the value of a card that you're looking to buy or sell. And lastly, tip number 5, recognize your resources are scarce and hunt the best ROI. So what I mean by this is that not all of us are millionaires and billionaires who have infinite money to spend on sports cards at all times. A lot of us only have a few $100s that we're prepared to invest, or $1,000 or $2,000. And so what you need to be hunting for is the best return on your investment at all times. It very well could be that there's a lot of good uses of your money, but remember that once you spend that $2,000 bankroll, you now just have cards in front of you. You have spent it and you no longer have buying opportunities until you sell some of what is in front of you and some of what you've already bought. And so when you do buy cards, you want to make sure that you're finding the absolute best uses for those for that money. The cards that are going to have the best returns in the short or medium or 1-year term, because that is going to be the way in which you are able to grow the value of your collection the fastest. Don't spend your whole bankroll on a card that you think you might be able to make a 10 or 15% return on if there are other cards that you see you could buy where you expect to make a 35 or 40 or 45 or 50% return on your investment. Because you don't have unlimited money, you need to be choosy about who you invest in and when you invest in them and which specific cards you invest in and what specific grade of that card you buy or how nice that raw card needs to be before you buy it. And so always recognize your resources are scarce and always hunt the best ROI. So thank you for tuning in, guys. Drop a like. Leave me a comment, subscribe to the channel. I'd love to hear if you guys have any tips that you felt would have been helpful for when you were getting started out. But I really thought that this video just needed to be made because I made so many mistakes at the beginning, and I wanted to share that with you guys so some of you who are starting out hopefully don't make the same errors. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.